Hey everybody, how we doing out there? Doc and Mav here with ReadySetCrypto. Today is Wednesday, the 12th of January. Welcome aboard. Everybody out there trying to figure out what's going on. We have some thoughts on that today. Welcome aboard. Let us know where you are coming in from. Welcome aboard to ReadySetCrypto. So say hi, make sure you smash the thumbs up button. Smash your likes on the video. Help us defeat the algorithm. And welcome aboard. We got Steph coming in from Amsterdam. Thank you. We have Santan Valley, Arizona. Fantastic. That's pretty cool. There's an air park right around there as well too, that I've seen some videos from. That's a really neat area. All right, Crypto Cube, welcome aboard. We got Geelong, Australia. Fantastic. Probably said that wrong. New Jersey, Mohammed. Welcome. We'll get started here in just a few minutes. We'll get things warmed up. Let us know where you're coming in from. Say hello. And, get something to drink. We'll be here for about the next half hour. And typically the way that we do these things is Mav has got some deep thoughts for you to begin with. Really deep thoughts. And then I'll take over from there. Typically what I'll do is I'll go over kind of the top two cryptos and tell you what I'm seeing on those, about the state of the market and any coins that you want to see. Now, this week may make some sense. Last week I said, let's not look at the other coins because we're selling off right now. But this week, if you have any pairs that you want me to take a look at, I'll do that for the limited time that we have together. Who else we got here? We got Seattle. We got, of course, Check Cardano. All right. We got Pensacola, Florida. Got to get back there to the Naval Museum. All right, folks. Check in. Say hello. We'll get started here momentarily. Mav, what you got?
So we got a little bit of a bounce in the crypto markets today. A little interesting. Maybe not, overwhelming in the positive, but certainly a nice, breath of fresh air after a couple weeks, and certainly some days there where things were pretty negative. So, finally seeing something green this side of the new year. But as Doc mentioned, we'll briefly talk about what's going on, what's driving the market right now. Why are we seeing Bitcoin and crypto bounce right now? What's kind of coming down the road here, and what we think is the right move in response to what we're seeing today. So I think the big thing to talk about today is, as we've probably talked about most of the streams in the past couple of weeks, it's about inflation, and specifically around what the Fed was talking about today. The inflation numbers that came out were now at 7% inflation. Ooh, no, a big scary number, huh? Very, very different from even just a few years ago. But here's the thing is that this is just the result of what has been the case ever since 2008. We just kept kicking the can down the road a little bit. And finally, we're seeing things start to catch up a little bit in terms of the government's ability to print its way out of the situation. I mean, if for nothing else, look at the M1 money supply over the last 24 months. We've seen 80% of all US dollars in existence printed during that time. That should tell you more than just about any other statistic I can levy at you right now. But what we're definitely seeing is the response today in relation to what the Fed has put out in terms of the numbers and what we think that means for the rest of the year in terms of interest rate hikes. Well, the market believes that, it's going to be not as, let's say, radical or fast in terms of tightening as maybe originally thought. So there was a small bounce today, and that obviously took out some of the shorts, and we saw a little bit of a reactionary rally as a result. So does this mean business as usual? Does this mean that, now is a good time to get into Bitcoin? Perhaps. I think it is an indicator that we still have to see what's going to transpire over the next 2 months. We are anticipating that the first interest rate hike will be in March. And until then, in this sort of high inflationary environment, Unfortunately, the crypto market gets coupled pretty strongly against the equities market. So we're all in the same ride together right now. That's kind of where we'll likely be for a little bit. But once things start to get a little bit, inversely correlated, as the crypto market starts to, as we see people moving back into the space right now, there's not a whole lot of activity, inflow, capital, both investors as well as, institutions going into the space right now. And that's hurting our, kind of short-term growth, as, you just have everybody who's been in crypto for the last, year or whatever, responding to what's going on in the market. But for by and large, not much is happening activity wise. We're just kind of in a wait and see mode. Once that changes, once we start to see some appetite for risk on assets, these crypto assets, that's when we'll start to see things kind of go back up towards maybe above 50K, up towards 100K, as we've been talking about. So there's still a lot of really good indicators, macro indicators, to basically say that, hey, Bitcoin has every right to be an inflation hedge and has every right to be sort of this new asset class that is going to promote your ability to have a return on your assets greater than 7% in a time where things are uncertain and certainly volatile. So, like, for many other people out there, I think it's definitely my prerogative to see that you respond to this as cautiously, but also as calmly as possible. This is just the state of things. We are in a state of flux from a monetary perspective. Hopefully this year we see the supply chain kind of get its act together, and hopefully we see a recovery that's not jobless. But those things are still yet to be determined. To speculate to like possibilities is only to pull out a crystal ball in front of you and say, well, this might happen. So we are very much at a crossroads of possibilities right now, and the market is responding to that uncertainty. That is what drives the market up and down, particularly down, is when there is mass uncertainty in the market. And that's what we've seen over the past couple of weeks, especially over the last week or so. Thankfully, I think things are getting a little less uncertain, but we're not out of the woods yet. It still is very much a new year, still very much trying to determine where things are going to be even 6 months from now. So all that's to say is we will do the best we can to respond to things as they come along. But I think the move still is to trade cautiously, trade dispassionately, but also set yourself up for what's coming down the pipeline. If we do see market resurgence in the coming months, I think that will be a great time to get into not only Bitcoin, but some of the Ethereum and Ethereum competitors out there. They're going to be ones leading the charge. They're the ones that people gravitate towards during times of uncertainty and downtrends like these. Layer 2 scalability is going to be a big topic this year. Smart contract platforms starting to really come into their own and mature, starting to facilitate these brand new ventures, these new areas of crypto, such as DeFi and NFTs and GameFi and all this really interesting stuff that we're building a lot of really interesting use cases and revenue opportunities out of. This is what we want to see more of this year. And we need a little bit of foundation to make that happen. And that's where the platforms come from. They are very quickly becoming quality infrastructure plays that they're not going to go away. The projects like people are talking about Cardano, that is right at the center of the storm, I think, right now. That's where we want to be putting the majority of our portfolio holdings into, just as a response to say, hey, let's sell pickaxes to the miners, pun intended. We want to be playing quality right now. And once we see an opportunity for things to start to turn around, that's when we shift into the more speculative risk on environments, such as, some of those moonshots and some of the emerging, plays in the crypto space, NFTs, DeFi, et cetera. So I think that's a good segue into what's going on from the charts today. I think there's definitely some interesting stuff happening from the fundamentals perspective, but I think the charts will be very telling as to what we just saw over the last 12 hours or so. So Doc, what do you think?
Funny you should ask. All right, let's bring up the charts. Guys, I've got a couple of requests in there for Cardano and Flux. If there's any other coins that you want me to take a look at, please chat into the chat window here. All right, off we go. Now, first thing I want to look at here is Bitcoin versus the US dollar. This is the monthly chart. This is also the log chart. And this is my North Star. So whenever the price starts selling off and I start getting a little bit concerned, I'll pull up the monthly log chart and say, what's the trend here? It's still to the upside. We're still printing higher highs and higher lows. These are all still higher lows along the way, which is good. So we still have an uptrend here. Now, that doesn't mean that the price is not moving, but if you want to have a view on this, especially if you're a long-term hodler, if you want to have a view on this, it's not going to get you shaken out. Take a look at the log chart. All right, so now we go down to the weekly chart. And this is where things get a little bit more interesting because through chart patterns, which we have covered through some of our classes, there is the formation of a deadly, dreaded head with shoulders pattern here. Now, it's a little bit skewed. There's a little bit of a truncated right shoulder here. But basically, the way that this plays out is you're going to take the, let's see, you're going to take the distance between the head and the neckline and then transpose that to the downside. And that gets us pretty darn close down to 20,000. So is this a prediction that we're going to hit 20,000? No, it's not. It's just a chart pattern with a certain associated probability to that. There would have to be some type of catalyst that's going to drive everything down to this level. We'd also see the equity markets take a huge haircut as well too, if this is going to happen. And I'm not sure that that's happening right now. Okay, so, step back from the ledge, I would say, first of all. But secondly, what we talked about last week is I said, look, have your orders stacked in at 42, 40, and then again down at 20. So just set up limit orders down there. Don't put any judgment on it. Just be ready to step in front of these levels if they're hit. Now, the thing here is that if we do drop below 40, there is quite a bit of support in this area. So it's going to get hung up in this area for a while. And then we'll find out whether or not it wants to go down to here. But let's shift the discussion. Let's go down to the daily chart because, as we know, rule number 1 says that larger time frames dominate the trend. So right now we have a weekly downtrend. But if we go to the daily chart, and actually even smaller than that, if we go to a smaller time frame than that, we're actually seeing a little bit of a reversal to the upside. Now, this is a retest of the head and shoulders neckline. That's the first, I'd say, obstacle in the way of a rally here, is that it's got to get above the neckline and not just make it a back test of that ascending trend line. So this is where I go into rule number 2, because rule number 2 says that reversals happen from the inside out. This is our fractal energy program, by the way. We did see a nice drop, and this is a capitulation puke down here, for lack of a better term, where this is a waterfall decline. This is where there was an absolute hole in liquidity. The price tumbled out. There was a buyer strike down here, big volume coming in just below 40,000. That's perfect. That's exactly the type of capitulation that I want to see. We now have a 12-minute uptrend. Okay, is that making its way to the hourly chart? Yes, it's propagating up to the hourly chart. Is it making its way to the 5-hour chart? Yes, it is. It's now a 5-hour uptrend. So time frame by time frame, we're starting to migrate to an uptrend. Is it an uptrend on the daily chart yet? Nope, it's just a swing. It's just a swing up to what is so far, this is a lower high. So here's what I expect to see. Now, I'm going to be optimistic about this, and I'm going to say that this may be the reversal that we're looking for. But what's going to happen first is at some point, the price is going to get hung up in this area, maybe even at the trend line, and the price is going to start to drop. This is where people are going to freak out, right? So this is where everybody says, I can't take this any longer. I'm going to sell out. And this is what they've done through every sell-off that we've had over the past several years. This is where the opportunity is, though, to print a higher low. And this is where the price reverses, breaks above that descending trend line, Let's go out and see that trend line again. So there it is. Let's pull it down so we can see it. So rule number 3 says that descending patterns break to the upside. So that's basically what we're looking for this to start reversing, is something like that. So watch that carefully in the near future. If the price does break below 40,000, then it's probably heading down into this zone as well too. This high volume node around 33 to 34. But for right now, I'm thinking optimistically, we may have a shot. Just watch this reverse. And again, it's going to be helped by its cousin, the equity markets. All right, quick view on Ethereum. Same thing is going on here. Ethereum, once, and we talked about this last week, I swear we did, that I said, look, what I'm expecting to see is this is a descending pattern. Descending patterns will eventually break out to the upside. But first, what I want to see this thing do is drop below the lower trend line of this. And that's exactly what we got. We got some nice medium volume capitulation. We've seen a bounce back up, and now the 200-day moving average is overhead resistance. So it's got to get above there first, and we need to have some form of higher low set up, and then we can set up to break above that descending trend line. So this is the path to reversal for Ethereum as well too. I'm not going to go into all the other coins. What I will do is go into some of the requests that we've had. So Cardano, this is Cardano. Let's go out to a larger time frame chart on Cardano. This is actually a broken chart, at least the way I'm looking at it right now, because this is a former uptrend, was super strong, and now we've started to drop right back down into things. So on the weekly chart, this is not very impressive. We do have an oversold bounce down here, but this is just to a lower high. All of these are lower highs along the way. This is so far just another lower high. Now, here's the path for those of you that ask. If the price starts to get above 1.6, this is the reversal process. This is what has to happen before this starts to break higher. Also, this descending pattern will break to the upside. So 1.6 is your level on Cardano, which is really weak right now, but never underestimate the power of an oversold bounce. Next one that I got from request was Flux versus the USDT. And let's do Binance on this one. This one is actually looking pretty good. This is, let's ignore the ICO on this one, or at least the announcement on Binance. Okay, so right now we have an uptrend, and we don't have much data on this. We just have a few weeks of it. But right now, this is a nice uptrend, higher highs, higher lows. What I want to see from this to remain into the uptrend is for this trend line to remain. So this is going to have to break above $3.10. This is kind of an ascending triangle pattern for right now. Watch for this, watch for volume to confirm the move. So Flux looks pretty good. Okay, I'm going to look over at, let's see. Nathan is asking for SCRT. See if I can find this. Secret Network. All right, so Secret Network. Let's take a look here. This, once again, is kind of a mess of a chart. It is a primary uptrend. However, so what I'm looking at here is this is more of a big bear flag. And to break this bear flag, it's going to need to trade above 750. So that's going to have to start the reversal process. And I've seen this with a lot of crypto assets, is that they'll set up with a bear flag, and then it just sort of releases to the upside again. It forms a big basing pattern. So right now, 750 is your key on Secret Network. Okay, let's see. Bang, bang, bang. All right, Martins is looking for CLNY. And I hope that's a crypto asset. I don't see it. I think you're asking for a stock. If it's a crypto asset, I cannot chart it right now. Let's see. Charts are useless for crypto. Okay. I've only been doing it for years now. I guess you're right. You must be right. I'm glad that you're logging on with our crew here today. Let's see. Let's go to Near. NIR versus USDT. So charts are useless for crypto, but this one looks awfully nice, right? So we have range expansion, range contraction. I don't care what asset that you have, right? Every asset that's out there that's financially chartable offers supply and demand, and this is what charting does. Now, if you're looking at charting as like some of the people in the chart are, or the chat are, if you're looking at charting to predict the future, you're getting it wrong, right? Don't look at charting and TA to predict the future. What you do is you look at these charts to understand what the price is doing and the supply demand, all right? So let's go back here. Let's look at this one. So what we have is range expansion, range contraction, and this is actually quite nice because we have this high energy level here, non-linear price action, building up a lot of energy, looking for the breakout. So this is actually good. I want to see more volume on the breakout, but notice how when every time that this chart builds up a lot of energy, it tends to break in the direction. And if you look at the right time frames on here, you can see on the weekly chart, we do have a primary uptrend. So this is all good. Okay. KuCoin has more history. All right. Well, all right. We had enough history on that one. That's fine. What, let's see, Martins is looking for harmony. So one. So we'll look at this. Harmony is a really nice looking chart. And we've looked at this one the last few weeks. First of all, what we have is kind of a rounded base, which broke out to its target to the upside, but it's continuing to move. It's continuing to move, retest of the breakout. It's kind of sloppy, but it actually looks pretty good. This is a nice looking chart and really strong today with the rest of crypto. What do I think about BE Pro? I don't know what I think about it, but we'll pull up the chart. BE Pro Network. Okay. Wow. All right. There's very little history on this one, at least on KuCoin. There's very little history here. This is, I think the market's pretty confused on this one. So we had an initial pump and then it's just back down. This is still kind of a broken chart consolidating. Doesn't know what it wants to do. There's not enough volume on here to really make a good market. Okay, let's see. Next one, Adam Kowalski is asking for Solana. Let's do that. Solana's been actually really good, although it's gotten a little weak lately, but still primary uptrend. This is a weekly chart. Looking on the daily chart, we have big consolidation here. This is I'm a little disappointed that this didn't break out here, and you can see this false breakout led to this thing getting wrecked over the next couple of weeks. So what I do want to see this thing do is recapture the uptrend on the weekly chart, and it's going to have to break this descending trend line to do that. So right now, Solana is a little bit soft, and I'm a little concerned about that one. Okay, bang, bang. Let's see. Insight on FTM. Let's look at Phantom. We'll do just a few more here, and then we'll wrap up for today. Phantom actually looks really good, and what I like about Phantom is it's got that rounded base kind of look. This is sort of a cup with handle where it traces out this big wide base, comes up here, and then consolidates, and notice that the energy's built up again. So what this thing's going to have to do to reclaim, this is all just a big consolidation pattern, is it's going to have to break above 320 with Mongo volume. So the volume's been really good lately. It's going to need to carry on that volume to break out above this cup, though. And that is Phantom. All right. That's okay. Brasco, can I look at ETH versus BTC? Sure I can. Ethereum versus Bitcoin. Don't often look at this one. Okay, so what we're doing here is we're going long Ethereum and we're going short Bitcoin. So it depends on which one is going higher, which one is stronger. This is really kind of a difficult chart to read, I would say, because most of the time they go in parallel. So this is really this is really illustrating the strength of Ethereum versus Bitcoin lately, and this is building that kind of rounded base pattern again. So watch this. This is interesting to watch, as well as the BTC dominance, to see whether or not this is actually going to break out here. And maybe we're going to run into 2022 as the year of platforms, right? Ethereum is going to break on ETC versus BTC, or Ethereum versus BTC. So interesting chart. Not one that I look at very often. All right, Hex versus Tether. Oh, there we go. Okay, Hex Tether. Pretty sloppy, pretty sloppy. Okay, this is the typical strong into the fall, and then we've been weak since that point. So this is really more of, this is setting up a lower high. This is kind of dubious. I'm going to put a frowny face on here. Remember that when your substitute teacher would stick a frowny face on your blackboard in the morning if you're not behaving? This one's not behaving right now, so I'm putting a frowny face on there. Kind of a transition into a downtrend. I would want to see this thing breaking above 35 cents on Hex versus Tether for this to reclaim any kind of buying interest again. Okay, let's see. What else do we have here? Loco surfing. Let's do VRA. Let's see what we can find. VRA. Veracity. And we'll do Veracity versus Tether. Man, it's almost the same chart. So a lot of charts have had some real damage in November. November's been very damaging for a lot of charts, including BTC and Ethereum. Ethereum less so. So right now, this is a descending pattern. I would avoid this one unless it gets above 4.5 cents. So avoid until it's able to reclaim this level above 4.5 cents. Right there. Okay, let's see. What do we got here? Rune. All right, I'll just do a couple more, and then we'll... I got a beer with my name on it. Rune. Oh, it's almost like we're looking at the same chart, right? What we're seeing here is we're seeing this big pump, and we're seeing range expansion, range contraction. So this one I would avoid until it hits 10. XDB, XDB. Let's see if I can find XDB. I don't recall this one. Digital bits. All right, let's see digital bits. Again, tough November. Tough November. Everything's had a tough November. So this is transitioning into a downtrend. Avoid unless it's above 55 cents on XDB. Okay. Next one here, Vader. Mav, can I hear some Vader sound effects? Okay, I don't have enough. Vader's only been around for 3 weeks here. There's not enough data to chart Vader. So I find your lack of faith disturbing with Vader, but there it is. Fundamentals about Hex. I don't know any fundamentals on Hex. Chainlink. The Chainlink Marines are here. All right. Chainlink has actually been doing quite well. So here's one that I was giving a hard time about, saying, well, Chainlink is garbage because it's not doing well. But look at the reversals here. This is what I want you guys to look, right? So descending patterns, break to the upside, put in a higher low, and then transition to a higher high. This is exactly what a change in polarity looks like. Look at the volume on here. Chainlink is resurrecting in front of our eyes right now. So this is good. This is exactly what you want to see for a coin which has been, had the crap beat out of it for the past few weeks. This is how it resuscitates. This is how it reverses back up to the upside. Okay, so is it still great? No, it's still kind of sloppy, right? Chainlink has been really sloppy here for a while, at least on Bitfinex. I could probably look at some different ones on here. Is that? No, that's not much better. So this is just a big, wide, sloppy consolidation pattern. So you can see that this is the beginning of a nice move here, and I'd like to see this above 36, quite honestly. Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay, so Marcos brought up Rose to me today, and this one has been awesome. So this is Rose versus Tether. In the last couple of days, man, this has got everything you're looking for. Boom, you got volume, you got price action, you got people piling into this thing. Now, be careful of this. When markets are in corrective, they tend to whack-a-mole these types of altcoins that dare to break out to the upside while everything else is getting crushed. So be careful with this one, but it looks really, really good right now. Okay, just a couple more, and down we go. Okay, so Litecoin, and then I will open things up again. So LTC, no, that's the wrong chart. LTC, all right, versus the US dollar. Let's just do Coinbase. This is a lousy chart. This is bad. This is bad, right? So this was building a nice base, and month of November just came and whack-a-mole this thing. It just destroyed it. So this thing has got a long way to go to fix the chart. This is a broken chart. It's got to trade above 160 before I'll consider looking at this thing again. Trade above 160 on good volume, and then this is starting to repair. Again, look at that Chainlink chart as an example of a chart that's healing itself, and I think you'll get it from there. Isn't this a typical head and shoulders formation? Maybe. That's, I'm not seeing it. No, not really. You know, unless you're going to go out to maybe in a weekly chart. Weekly chart, that's not really head and shoulders. Really, BTC has got the best head and shoulders right now that you're going to find. This is about as good as it gets. And there's no guarantee that that's going to work out. In fact, there's so many people talking about the head and shoulders on BTC that I think there's a good chance that it's not going to work, because when everybody sees the same thing, that move is over. All right, back to the camera. Thanks, guys. Thanks for your coin suggestions. Appreciate you guys weighing in this week. And I, of course, always love the discussion. I never pretend that like I know what's going to happen in the future. All I can do is look at what the price is telling me and try to keep my own bias out of it. And that's all that you can do as well, too. Mav, do you have any finishing thoughts for the crowd that's out there today?
Yeah, I would try not to take any I suppose, extreme stance right now in terms of Bitcoin's going to crash down to 20K or it's going to shoot up to 70K or something like that. I would play the middle of the road approach right now while we kind of still see where things are going. Quite honestly, I think we will see the market over the course of this year not be so directly impacted by some of these macro factors as some investors might be thinking they will be. For instance, pricing in so many interest rate hikes, as many as 4, I think is probably not what we're going to see. Things like that where kind of overestimating the impact that we're going to see from those kind of things, while at the same time discounting the fact that we'll probably see supply chain and demand kind of, I don't want to say correct or, get back to where they were pre-2020 levels, but certainly I think we'll start to see things get a little bit more under control. There's still going to be disruption in the markets. There's always going to be things that come along that kind of upset the apple cart. But I think for a, broad picture, macro view, kind of look at things, it's going to be okay. And more than that, I think it's definitely a year where we're going to see this theory that Bitcoin and crypto assets are sort of an inflation hedge, do well as deflationary assets in this sort of, environment where we're not still sure if the Fed is going to continue to make inflation transitory or a little bit more permanent. We don't know if that, by this time next year that it will still be at 7% or higher. Certainly would be interesting to see them get it down to below 3.7, sort of their target. But regardless, I think we just got to play this by ear. And one of the best ways to do that is to be long in Bitcoin and to, continue to use this space as a nice hedge and bet against some of the things that are going on from a monetary and fiscal perspective on, the macro scale from central banks, from governments, et cetera. So yeah, it is definitely an interesting and certainly for many perplexing start of the year. But I think this is just natural continuation of what we've seen over the past 2 years. Things are not going to get just magically better. There's going to be times of volatility and churn, and it's definitely not going to be easy for anything to get back to anything resembling something normal or status quo. But maybe that is the new status quo, and so we have to play that too. Regardless, I think what we can do to best be able to counteract these forces, these unknown variables, is just to stay flexible and to not go super, deep or have massive bags that we're hanging on to at any one point. I think this is the year where, having a flexible portfolio, it's well diversified, is going to play out very well. So that all said, that's kind of what we talk about almost every day in our Discord and our different channels, in our different communities. So if that's at all interesting, definitely something I would encourage you to check out. For example, our brand new service, ReadySet.vision. It's all about looking at sort of the macro view and using blockchain data to better analyze and predict where things are going, using some of this on-chain analysis metrics to really start to plan and predict where things are going. If you've ever heard of Glassnode or blockchain analytics, these are some of the tools that we're using to best predict and best utilize data to understand where market conditions are heading. So that's one of our services. Another is ReadySet.trade, which Doc runs, and it's all about how to be a more effective trader, how to better understand the equities markets, and how to better be able to trade in environments like these where things are not always going to be exactly predictable, but certainly we can mitigate our risk while trying to maximize our returns. So
we thrive on chaos. That's what we do.
Exactly.
We thrive on chaos. When everybody else has got their head in the sand, we're out there digging away. Because what you find is when everybody sees the same thing in the markets are likely to do the exact opposite thing. So markets have a way of punishing the conventional viewpoint that everybody holds. Markets will typically do the opposite.
Yeah. So we'll definitely continue to look to take that perspective this year, as some people are already saying that things are priced in, or that it's a known factor. And I think this year might be defined by some things that we can't exactly plan for, but we can start to help mitigate the risk of. So regardless, that is what we're all about here, is helping you to stay as best prepared as possible, as knowledgeable as possible in these times that are continually changing and, as Doc said, chaotic. This is the best we can do, and we can do it together. And that's what this community and this channel, these streams are all about. So thank you so much for being a part of them. And as always, hope you're doing well out there. See you next week. And until then, take it easy. Hope we'll continue to see these numbers continue to go up, but anything's possible. Doc, anything else?
No, just everybody be good. Everybody keep your head on straight, because this is actually the time of maximum opportunity. It's the point of it's what separates the those that are going to be in this business for a while from those that wash out, quite frankly. Everybody is a genius in a bull market, but you earn your stripes when the market's correct.
Yeah, it's when quiet wealth is built. So
there you go.
Cool. Well, cheers, guys. We'll see you next week.
Yeah, we'll see you guys next week.
Take care, guys.
Everybody be good. Bye now.